Hello friends, you've just unlocked another chapter of the past, hidden, untold, and waiting to be discovered. This is Buried Truths. Let's view the video. The Irish Brigade stands as one of the most legendary fighting forces of the American Civil War. Composed mainly of Irish immigrants, it was forged in a time when loyalty, identity, and the hunger for recognition collided on blood-soaked battlefields. Their legacy still echoes today. In the mid-19th century, waves of Irish immigrants flooded into America, fleeing famine and persecution. Many settled in New York, Boston, and Philadelphia. Discrimination was rampant, and no Irish need apply signs were common. The Civil War became an opportunity for Irish Americans to prove their worth and loyalty. The Irish Brigade was officially formed in 1861, with its roots deeply embedded in Irish nationalism and Catholic faith. Comprising regiments like the 69th, 63rd, and 88th New York Infantry, it was placed under the command of Brigadier General Thomas Francis Meagher, a fiery Irish revolutionary-turned-Union officer. Meagher envisioned the brigade not only as a military force but as a symbol of Irish valor. He believed Irish service in the war would help gain U.S. support for Irish independence. The green flags of Éireann, Catholic chaplains, and Gaelic battle cries became trademarks of the brigade's fierce identity. The men were a blend of poor laborers, recent immigrants, and veterans from European conflicts. Despite lacking formal training, they brought fierce tenacity, deep-rooted brotherhood, and an unbreakable will to prove themselves in battle. They saw military service as both duty and redemption. Their Catholic identity set them apart in a predominantly Protestant army. Each regiment marched with priests, held mass before battle, and flew green regimental flags emblazoned with harps and mottos. These elements gave them unity and spiritual resolve amidst brutal warfare. By the end of 1861, the Irish Brigade had become a distinct, recognized force within the Union Army. More than just soldiers, they were proud Irishmen fighting for America, for dignity, and ultimately, for Ireland's freedom. Their journey of blood and honor had only just begun. The Irish Brigade's journey into battle began with a trial by fire. From the moment they stepped onto the battlefield, their courage and resolve were tested. They fought not just as soldiers, but as immigrants trying to carve honor into a hostile nation's history. Their first major engagement came at the First Battle of Bull Run in July 1861. Though still inexperienced, the Irish troops fought bravely in the chaos. Despite the Union defeat, the brigade gained recognition for its discipline and bravery, standing firm when many others fled in panic. Later, at the Battle of Fair Oaks in 1862, the Irish Brigade again proved its mettle. Fighting in swamps and thick woods, the men showed incredible courage under relentless fire. The battlefield was muddy, the air choked with smoke, and the casualties high, but they never broke. By this time, their battlefield reputation was growing fast. Journalists began to praise their discipline and valor. Even skeptical generals started acknowledging their courage. The Irish Brigade, once doubted as mere immigrants, was rapidly earning the name of an elite fighting force. The soldiers adopted traditions to strengthen their unity: Gaelic war cries, shared prayers, and green flags flying amidst gunfire. Meagher's leadership kept morale high, as he reminded his men of their honor as Irishmen and Americans. Their unique identity bonded them in combat. However, the brutal cost of war became clear. Casualty rates soared. Letters home spoke of brothers lost, friends maimed, and endless mud and blood. The brigade understood that proving themselves came with a terrible price. But still, they marched forward, undaunted. These early battles carved the brigade's name into Civil War history. They had endured fire, death, and fear, and emerged with glory. Their blood had begun to water the roots of the legend they were becoming. And far greater trials were still ahead. The Battle of Antietam became the bloodiest single day in American history, and the Irish Brigade was at its heart. On September 17, 1862, their valor and sacrifice would become legend. They marched into a maelstrom, and into the pages of eternal glory. The Irish Brigade was ordered to assault a fortified Confederate position at a sunken farm lane, later called Bloody Lane. Marching through cornfields under withering fire, the green flags led the way. Bullets tore through the air, but the brigade never faltered. They advanced in tight formation, muskets gleaming, priests praying alongside them. Confederate troops fired relentlessly from behind the embankment. The Irish charged again and again, their bodies stacking the field. Over 500 of the 1,200 Irish Brigade men fell within minutes. Amid the carnage, soldiers shouted "Fag and Belak! Clear the way!" as they stormed forward. This ancient Irish war cry echoed through the smoke and gunfire. Their bravery stunned both friend and foe. Even Confederate commanders admired the Irish determination and fury. Despite impossible odds, they reached the Bloody Lane, engaging in brutal close-quarter combat. Bayonets clashed, smoke stung their eyes, and blood slicked the earth. Their green banners, now tattered and crimson-stained, continued to fly even as the bodies fell. Marye, wounded after falling from his horse, refused to leave the battlefield until his men had completed their assault. The price was horrifying. Entire companies were wiped out. Yet the Irish Brigade had broken the Confederate line and made history. The valor displayed at Antietam immortalized the Irish Brigade. Newspapers hailed their heroism. Their sacrifice turned them into symbols of immigrant courage and patriotism. They had bled for America and proved, in the deadliest way possible, that they were second to none. The Battle of Fredericksburg in December 1862 marked one of the most tragic and heroic moments for the Irish Brigade. Ordered into a hopeless frontal assault against fortified Confederate positions, they marched toward death with unmatched bravery, and carved their name deeper into legend. The Confederate Army held strong positions behind a stone wall atop Marye's Heights. The Irish Brigade, already depleted from Antietam, was chosen to lead the assault. Soldiers pinned green sprigs of boxwood in their caps to signal their Irish pride and unity. As they emerged from cover, they were met with a storm of musket and artillery fire. Entire lines of men were torn apart. Yet the brigade kept moving forward, shoulder to shoulder, their green flags fluttering defiantly against the hail of death. The slaughter was unimaginable. The open field offered no protection. Union troops fell by the hundreds. The Irish Brigade suffered massive losses, over 500 casualties in a matter of minutes. Still, they advanced again and again, refusing to retreat in the face of doom. Their courage stunned the Confederates. General Robert E. Lee's men watched in disbelief as wave after wave of Irish soldiers charged. One Confederate officer reportedly said, "We forgot they were enemies. We cheered them like heroes." Even in death, they inspired awe. Chaplain William Corby moved through the carnage, administering last rites to the dying. The brigade's green flags were riddled with holes and soaked in blood. Marye was devastated. He called it murder, but also declared that no soldiers had ever fought with greater honor. The Irish Brigade failed to take the heights, but their valor became immortal. Newspapers across the North mourned their losses and celebrated their courage. At Fredericksburg, they did not win, but they became immortal warriors in the soul of a nation. By 1863, the Irish Brigade was a shadow of its former strength. Battles like Antietam and Fredericksburg had claimed hundreds of lives. Their ranks were decimated, and new recruits were scarce. Still, the survivors stood proud, unwilling to abandon their sacred mission. The brigade fought at Chancellorsville and Gettysburg, but with fewer men and dwindling support. Thomas Francis Meagher, heartbroken by the relentless loss, eventually resigned his command. The brigade was reorganized, but the core identity, bravery, Irish pride, and sacrifice, remained unshaken. At Gettysburg, the Irish Brigade once again distinguished itself on July 2, 1863, in the wheatfield. Though much smaller, their fierce charge helped blunt the Confederate advance. Casualties were again severe, but their banner still flew. Their legend continued to grow with every sacrifice. Recruitment remained difficult. Irish communities back home were already grieving thousands of lost sons. Many questioned why they should continue to fight for a country that still viewed them as second-class citizens. Yet those who remained honored every fallen comrade by pressing on. The survivors of the Irish Brigade wore their battle scars like armor. They had endured everything war could throw at them: death, defeat, and despair. But they had also earned the respect of friend and foe alike, proving Irish Americans were as American as anyone. Their green flags, once bright and proud, were now faded, blood-stained relics. Yet they symbolized resilience and brotherhood that no bullet could destroy. The brigade's decline in numbers did not diminish its spirit. If anything, it magnified their heroism. By the war's end, the Irish Brigade had paid a dreadful price. But their sacrifice left an unshakable legacy of courage, pride, and the right to belong. They had fought not only for the Union, but for their place in its future. Long after the cannons fell silent, the story of the Irish Brigade lived on. Their bravery became part of Civil War lore and Irish-American identity. They were no longer just soldiers, they were symbols of sacrifice, unity, and the immigrant fight for dignity and belonging. Monuments honoring the brigade can be found on major battlefields like Antietam, Fredericksburg, and Gettysburg. These granite tributes bear Gaelic inscriptions and images of Irish harps, Catholic crosses, and green flags, silent reminders of the courage shown by Irishmen far from home. The most famous is the Irish Brigade Monument at Antietam, a Celtic cross carved from Irish limestone. It stands where they charged the bloody lane, surrounded by the names of fallen regiments. Veterans and descendants still visit to lay flowers and whisper prayers. In Ireland, their legacy remains bittersweet. Many had fled British oppression, only to die on foreign soil. Yet their courage brought pride to Irish hearts. Their fight in America echoed the spirit of Irish resistance, bridging two nations through blood and honor. Modern Irish-American organizations and reenactment groups keep the memory of the Irish Brigade alive. Annual ceremonies, reenactments, and historical lectures ensure that new generations understand their role in shaping U.S. history and the immigrant journey. Their story has inspired books, documentaries, and films. Irish and American flags often fly side by side at their memorials. To many, the brigade represents what it means to fight for inclusion, equality, and the dream of belonging in a new homeland. The Irish Brigade's legacy is carved in stone, remembered in song, and kept alive in the hearts of millions. They fought not just battles, but prejudice and doubt. In doing so, they became immortal, not just in history books, but in the soul of a nation. Thanks for watching Buried Truths. If you enjoyed uncovering the hidden corners of history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more powerful stories from history's hidden vault. See you in the next video.